A theme song for a new podcast called Magicians. Only starring Steve Valentine, exploring the real secrets of magic, performance history, and mystery.
What did you think of that for a theme song, eh? I think sometimes AI can take us a little too literally. I asked it to create a theme song for the podcast, and it literally said a theme song. This is a theme song for the podcast. Oh my God, we're all doomed.
Magicians only.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Magicians Only. Can you believe this is episode 41? I can't. Holy moly. This has been, so far, a wonderful experience. I'm aiming to go to at least 100. We will see. We've got some wonderful and unusual interviews lined up for later in the season. You know, before we get into part 2 of House, Hulk, and Houdini, I just want to remind you, it's very, very important that if you love the show, please like, share, and subscribe. Take a moment to click the 5 stars, share it with everybody, because it really does help us get the word out there and inspires us to do more of these. And never forget that Magicians Only is sponsored by Magic on the Go, the greatest magic school in the world. Check it out. We do have monthly subscriptions available for a little while longer. And you know what? The holidays are coming, and what a wonderful gift. Give the gift of magic. That's what I say. Get the annual subscription. You can do it. If you go on to magiconthego.com, you'll see there is the option to gift as a gift card. And I think that's a wonderful gift. Give the gift of Hogwarts. Give the gift of magic. Give the gift of knowledge. Do you know someone who loves magic? Well, maybe Magic on the Go is right for them. Why don't you buy it for them and let them decide?
Magicians only.
Okay, it's time for us to get back into our discussion of magicians on TV. Now, if you remember, last week's episode, we talked a lot about how I had tried various escapes, some of which were unsuccessful. I also read you the anecdote of Percy Abbott, who almost died during an escape underwater. And of course, Houdini legendarily died in the water torture cell, although that's actually not true. But hey, it's wonderful mythology. Anyway, the water torture cell, Houdini's water torture cell, has a very prominent position in the episode of House that I was lucky enough to guest star on. So let's pick up where we left off, shall we?
Magicians only.
So how did it come about? Well, there's a very interesting story. So my agent calls me, he says, you want to go down and audition for it? They want to see that you can do magic. And I said, well, I read the script and I said, I'm not going to do magic. I can do magic if they want to do magic. And quite frankly, it's a television show, we can fake it. I was like, so I don't really want to be bothered to take magic down with me. What I would love to do is go down and read for the part, because in the end, it's about the scene. It's not about the magic. None of these things, whether it's monk, none of it is about the magic. It is about the scene and the character. So I have a deck of cards in my pocket just in case, but I'm feeling like my stomach is in a knot. I'm so conflicted about whether I want to read for this part. I know it sounds stupid. I understand, but I was so conflicted. I get to the studio and I think, maybe I will do a trick where there's a card trick where you throw a deck of cards at a window and a chosen card ends up on the other side of the window. I thought it wasn't in the script, by the way. If you're wondering about that, if you remember that episode, that card trick is in the script. I'll tell you that story in a minute. But so I figure I know where the casting room is. I've been in this casting room for other jobs. So there's a window there. So I figure I'll just go down this little back alley behind the casting office and I'll stick a card on the other side of the window with a message on it and have a joke, right? So I get back there and it turns out a dozen other magicians that had the same idea. The window was covered with playing cards. So I decided not to do that. Anyway, so I remember walking into the audition room and it was packed with magicians, like everyone I knew from the castle. A lot of people had brought their acts, but I was really happy that I hadn't. I just sat there and I said hi to everyone, sat there and focused on the scene. finally I go in there and I read. They ask to see a trick, and I'm like, well, here's a quick card trick. But, I said, we can design the magic to fit whatever we decide to do in the script. So I said, that's not a problem. And they asked me if I'd ever done the water torture cell. And I said, no, but how hard can it be? Now, bear in mind, Houdini created this. He was famous for the water torture cell. You're upside down in a tank of water, and little arrogant Steve goes, how hard can it be? So I also think to myself, well, we're not going to do the escape for real. And also, Tony Clark is a very good friend of mine. He's a wonderful magician and a great magic consultant. And I thought maybe I could bring Tony in on this and he could help keep me safe. So, So anyway, I ended up getting the part. And it was very interesting that the first day I got to set, the writer, Sarah Hess, she came up to me and she was like, I didn't think you were going to do this. And I said, what do you mean? And she goes, well, when I was writing this episode, I said to a friend of mine who was a mutual friend of ours, it turns out, I said to this mutual friend of ours, who would be a good actor that could do magic? And the mutual friend had said, well, Steve Valentine used to do magic, but I don't think he would do this part because he doesn't do magic on camera. So when Sarah had written it, she'd watched some of my stuff and kind of written it, from what I understand, in my rhythms, kind of with me in mind as a prototype. So when I went to read for it, they were pretty shocked. But you know what? So in some ways you could say, hey, it was written for me, but they still made me bloody audition. Magicians only. So I get to set and I see Hugh Laurie and I'm so happy to see him. I'm so excited to be. The show is a massive hit, right? For those who don't know, the episode is called You Don't Want to Know. It's in season 4. Don't rely on AI when you're looking up these shows because they often misquote, and it's when I looked at the AI description of this episode, almost everything about it was wrong. So you do want to look up the fandom wikis if you want to really check it out and check out all the details. It was directed by the amazing Leslie Linker Glatter, who I just had the best time with. She's an incredible director. Again, writer was David Shaw and Sarah Hess. And the air date was November 20th, 2007. It was episode 8 of season 4. And it was really a popular episode. There's been a lot of stuff all over YouTube on it. Guest stars in the show were Cal Penn and Dudek, Peter Jacobson, Olivia Wilde, and yours truly. And I was thrilled to be there. Now, here's the thing, right? So we needed to train. First thing we needed to do was I needed to train for the water cell. Now, they did say to me, we have a stuntman if you want the stuntman to do the whole thing. And I was like, no, I'm going to do this. I was in the best shape of my life. And I said, I'm going to do this. So every day they said, well, we're not going to film the water torture cell scene until the end of the shoot. So the end of the week. I think they thought that if something went wrong, they at least had everything else in the can. They do think like that in Hollywood. So I was like, yeah, okay, great, that's fine. So the whole week I'm doing this episode, I'm nervous, right? Because I'm nervous about filming this escape. And a number of things that you don't think about. One, of course, is that they had to get permission to shoot it because when you have a water tank, it's got so much water in it that if it spills into the ground, that's actually considered to be a bad thing, an environmental hazard. So you have to have a catch basin. There's all these laws and regulations. You have to have a massive catch basin built underneath the stage. So they were building that all week long while I was doing all the other scenes. But I was rehearsing every day. They put me in a wetsuit. So there I am. I'm in a wetsuit during rehearsals. They string me up by my ankles. The blood rushes to my head. And now I'm like, I don't know if this was such a good idea. So I'm hanging from a rope, which is attached to these shackles that are around my ankles. And then I'm lowered into the water, which is fairly warm. And plus I'm in a wetsuit, right? At the bottom of the tank, there is some air equipment. There's an oxygen mask. But I'm not very good at that stuff because if I grab the mask and try to get oxygen, I end up taking a mouthful of water. But we rehearse that every single day. I'm there. I give them, there's a safety signal that I give. So if something goes wrong or if I feel like I'm going to pass out or something like that, then they'll winch me out. The thing you don't expect when you do the water torture cell is the pressure on your head. At that point, I really couldn't feel how cold the water was, but I could feel the pressure. When your head is at the bottom of that tank and you've got that tonnage of water, it is not easy to hold your breath at all, which is why I needed to rehearse. And I did every day. The crew, the stunt team, Tony Clark, everyone was there, super professional, and they helped me to get it down, right? So I'm kind of super training every day, as well as doing the scenes. Great scenes with Eddie Gathegi, great scenes with Olivia Wilde and Cal Penn. And I remember Cal, I had a Fire Wallet, and I still own that Fire Wallet, and Cal did not. He needed to know exactly how it worked. He needed to know, which is what you need to do when you're an actor. You don't take anyone's word that something is safe. You need to be shown how it works, and you need to be comfortable with it. Same as if you're going to fire a gun on set. You need to know. And I remember Cal was very nervous with that wallet, because it was an incendiary device, right? You open up a wallet and there's fire shoots out of it. But so much fun. So we're doing the scenes. I have a great time with Hugh. The whole time in the back of my mind, I'm thinking to myself, well, at some point I'm going to have to do this water torture cell. I loved that Hugh kept his American accent the whole time throughout the entire shoot. It was weird because I'm such a huge fan of Blackadder and Fry and Laurie and all these things, but and it couldn't have been easy for him with me with my British accent, and he's there with his American accent. And Stephen Fry used to tease him mercilessly. I think Stephen Fry once said that Hugh's accent runs the gamut from A to B, but I thought he was wonderful, and he was such a pro. I mean, he was just in his American accent the whole time. So we had a lot of fun with the scenes, and I worked on the magic with everybody. We did the pills, the producing his pills. I came up with that for that scene. The card on the window. They originally wanted to do the card trick where the cards go up in the air, they land on the floor. Those that are face down are swept away until you end up with just one card left face up, and you predicted that card. But we had this beautiful glass window there in the hospital scene, right? So I said, why don't we do the card on the window? And we, even though there is a way of doing that, and I've seen magicians do it live, we got the power of the camera trick here. Sorry to blow that bubble, guys, but don't want to burst that bubble. But it's a camera trick. So the idea is he chooses a card, he shuffles it back in, he throws the deck. I throw the deck at the glass. He's like jibing at me the whole time. I throw the deck at the glass, and a card is stuck to the glass, and it's the wrong card. In which case, he makes a sarcastic comment. He takes the card off the glass, and underneath that card is the correct card. Then he realizes not only is it the correct card, but it's on the other side of the glass. And if you know House's character, this really pisses him off. Like, his whole thing is solving puzzles. His whole thing is it's better to know. My whole thing is it's better not to know. It's better when you don't know. This is the debate for the whole episode. So clever. So one of the things I loved was in film they have this phrase, show don't tell, and in this particular case they wanted to show that the card was on the other side of the glass. They didn't want him to go, oh my God, it's on the other side of the glass. They didn't want that. They wanted so it was really clever how they did it. He reaches out to take his card off the glass, and his fingers slide, and then they put a sound effect of a squeak, just a little squeaky sound effect, which was great. I mean, it just sold the fingers going over the glass, and immediately you knew what the situation was. Magicians only. I think one of my favorite lines was when House said, ladies and gentlemen, I have nothing in my hands, nothing up my sleeve. I do have something in my pants, but that's not going to help with this particular trick. Great patter. All right, so then we get to the final day. And this is it. It's water torture tank day. Harry Houdini's water torture cell. And they keep asking me if I want to let the stuntman do it. And I'm just like, no, I want to do this. I just had it in my head that I could get away with this, that I could actually do it. I've been training all week. And so everyone's there. Great stunt team. Tony Clark is taking care of me. Our director, Leslie, she's killing it. We're going through all the scenes. And now we get to the moment when I get shackled up and I'm lowered into the water tank. So a couple of things happened here. One, I've been rehearsing all week in a wetsuit. What I didn't realize was it was going to be completely different in jeans and a t-shirt. For one thing, I was going to feel how cold the water was. So they shackle in the episode, it looks like my feet go into the rooftop shackles or the top of the tank shackles. But actually what happens is while we're filming, my feet were tied to a rope and I was hanging from a rope upside down so they could pull me out if there was ever an issue. They pulled me upside down. And again, the blood goes to the head. It's the pressure of the water. It's insane. As I hit the water, I realize how cold it is. Now, at this point, not only am I upside down and it's hard to hold my breath, but the water is cold, making it even harder. I'm no David Blaine, guys. I haven't trained for months in order to do this. Soon as I hit the water, I go like this and swallow a ton of water. I give the signal. They pull me out. My head cracks the back of the tank as they pull me out. And I think it was a little minor cut in the back of my head. And now I'm just hanging there. They're like, you want us to get this? I'm like, no. They're like, we can put your face on the stunt, man. I'm like, I want to do this. It was a kind of a personal thing I needed to do. So I said, no, we'll go. Let's just go. Let's just go. Let's just do it, you know? So they lower me back into the tank. And the problem is that because I was hanging from a single rope, I actually started turning in the water. So they had to wait for me to do a complete revolution before they could get a shot, and then wait for me to do another revolution, and then they could get the shot. I had to struggle at one point, and then of course comes the moment when I die. There's it's a classic goof, because when the blood comes out of my mouth, you'll see it's actually a digital effect, and the blood rises up in the water, but actually blood is heavier than water and probably would have sunk to the bottom. But I'm hanging there on the rope, I'm spinning around, and I'm really upset. I don't know why I'm so angry with myself, but I had a flashback to that moment when I was a kid, being roped up and put in the bathtub by my brother and his friends. And I did have a moment where I thought to myself, oh, maybe this is it. Maybe I'm not going to get out. Maybe like Percy Abbott with his feet getting stuck in the mud. I'm thinking maybe this wasn't a good idea. Anyway, we get through the scene. They pull me out, and I was so happy that I did it. You know, it was just like this personal Everest for me. I didn't really do it. It's not like I really escaped out of the tank. I'm fully aware of that. But that said, to have been upside down in the water tank, filming that really legendary scene now, I mean, it's all over YouTube. The irony is, of course, Houdini never died in the water cell. That was artistic license taken in the Tony Curtis film. But it's really cool that they took that idea. And for those who don't know, I was the one patient who had lupus. Hollywood is such an incestuous place. Like I said, with the actors that you work with, you always bump into them years later in different places, and we're all at different places in our careers. I was thinking about doing this episode on House, and when I was flying into Los Angeles a couple of weeks ago to do the Magic Castle, and I get off the plane, and in a only in Hollywood moment, who do I bump into but David Shaw, who was not only the executive producer of House, but also co-wrote the episode with Sarah Hess. And I hadn't seen David in years. He actually ended up show running. He didn't create it, but he show ran a Houdini Doyle TV series for Fox, which I was a bit bitter about, because I also had a Houdini Doyle series that we'd sold to NBC. We're going to talk about that another time in another episode. So bumping into David, and I was like, shall I say hello? He's already been bothered by a couple of people, but he's such a lovely guy. And I thought, no, I'm just going to say hello. So as we're walking to get the bags, I say hi. We catch up as we're waiting for our suitcases. And I mentioned that I'm in town to do the Magic Castle, which, you know, for someone who at one point refused to do magic on film was a big moment. And turns out David said he would love to come. So in irony of ironies, that week, David brought his entire family to come see the show at the Magic Castle. And his son, of course, everyone's in their 20s. Remember, it's a 21 and over club. But his son sat at the close-up table, and I did magic specifically to him. So I guess it's full circle. If you have any other questions about anything I've done magic-wise on TV or film, feel free to send it in. You know, the link to ask questions is in the show notes. Huge thanks to Tony Clark, who was so brilliant on set and kept me safe. To Leslie Linka Glatter, who is one of the greatest directors in town right now. She's done, if you don't know her work, just look her up. She's killing it. To David Shaw, to everybody, to Hugh Laurie for being such a great guy. You know, the thing with living in LA is you always get to meet your heroes, and it's really a crapshoot as to whether they're worth meeting. And Hugh lived up to the legend, true legend. Since playing Flynn on House, and by the way, I'd also done, I think that year or a couple of years earlier, the video game Uncharted 3, where I also played a character called Flynn, which is a change, because normally I play characters called Nigel. So this was quite interesting and a fun change for me. But since doing that episode of House, I've played magicians on so many other shows, and I still have that little kind of like, I still have that little bit of concrete in my stomach that says maybe I shouldn't be doing it, but I think the cat's out of the bag, and I think it's a bit late for that now. Hollywood is a strange place. They love to pigeonhole you. I remember talking to a casting director once who said that she casts movies and she'd love to cast television, but the studios only think of her as a movie casting director, which is like the most ridiculous thing, right? Actors are actors, casting is casting. So everybody gets pigeonholed. But I ended up doing magic on I'm in the Band, which was the TV series that I did, and we did some great magic episodes. That was really fun because the rock star Derek Jupiter, he loved magic. If he couldn't have been a rock star, he would have been a magician. And so we had a lot of fun, crazy. One of the funniest things we ever did was he did a costume change where he throws the cloth up in the air and it drops and he's changed costumes. Only he's a bit of an idiot and he forgot to put on the other costume. So he throws the cloth in the air, it drops, and he's in his underwear. Really funny. But lots of fun stuff with that. There's an episode where I'm producing eggs, and I'm cracking them on this kid's head, which, by the way, is a very difficult thing to do. You know, you think, oh, an egg's just going to smash on someone's head. No, they're actually it's really hard to get them to smash in any kind of comedic way. So a Wizard's of Waverly Place, another thing that we did where I played a wizard, and we had to do kind of an impromptu magic street show that was a lot of fun. Obviously, Monk, Warehouse 13, I played an illusionist who levitated someone. Somebody actually sent me, I don't know how I got it or how they got my address, but they sent me a poster from the show that has the character in a beautiful like illusion poster from Warehouse 13, but instead of putting the character's name at the top, they put Steve Valentine. So maybe it was a mistake and they decided to send that one to me. I did see the costume for that character. It was this all-in-one, very flamboyant jumpsuit. I remember that came up for bids on eBay, and I was like, why are they selling costumes on eBay? I guess sci-fi needed the money. Magicians only. Magic and I have been friends since I was 5 years old. It has been a journey. It has been with me the entire time. Even when I was denying its existence, Magic kept nudging at me and saying, hey, you love this. Come on, you know you want to. You know you want to. As much as magic has got in the way and has caused certain doors to be shut in my face, I will say now more than ever, more doors have opened because of it. I've met amazing people worldwide, many of whom just have magic as a hobby, and you wouldn't believe it. People in the CIA, I've met royalty who love magic. I've doctors, judges, lawyers. It's an amazing hobby. I highly recommend it. So it all kind of makes you wonder what's coming next. What's going to be the next big magic TV thing? Is it going to be a magic TV detective? Is it going to be a crazy comedy? Is it going to be a magic spy series? We know the success of the Now You See Me movies, so we know that it works with the public. It just is going to take a clever network to understand what a wide reach magic has. I know for myself, I've written a comedy called Bad Magic, which is a wild comedy murder mystery. I've written another pilot called Magician, which is about a magician in the CIA. And of course, I have the one that I alluded to earlier, which was a very dark mystery series called The Believers, which we initially developed with NBC, which I would love to actually get going because it was a real twist on Harry Houdini's relationship with Arthur Conan Doyle, and we had some pretty amazing steampunk gadgets as part of it. Who knows? We're out there pitching right now. If we're able to sell one of these, I will let you know. If you're listening and you work with a network, you do realize that magic is loved and accepted worldwide. It's no longer got that cheesy connotation with audiences.
Magicians only.
When I was at the Magic Castle, I tried a new routine, and it's a version of matching the cards. I filmed it, and it will be uploaded very soon, maybe next month. I'll be uploading and teaching the entire routine on Magic on the Go. You know Magic on the Go. MagicOnTheGo.com is the sponsor of this show. And if it wasn't for Magic on the Go, I wouldn't be doing this. So if you want to, we have almost 1,000 videos now covering all kinds of magic. You want to be a star, you want to learn magic, you want to immerse yourself in the art form and the craft so that you can handle any trick at any time. You can learn magic anywhere at any time because it's all on your phone or your tablet. You just got to stream it. You don't have to carry DVDs around with you anymore or VHS tapes. So we've come a long way. And when it comes to learning magic, I think Magic on the Go is right on the cutting edge. Check it out, MagicOnTheGo.com. You can sign up monthly just for a little bit longer. Finally, I want to share with you something that's very important to me. I wrote a one-man show called Life and Other Deceptions when I got back into magic, and it was therapy more than anything else, because I thought if I'm going to get back into performing magic, I want to write a one-man show that combines acting, narrative, storytelling, and magic, because I believe it's perfectly fine to be all the things that you are. And in that initial script, I wrote a monologue. This was my response to somebody bad-mouthing magic, calling it lame, saying that I was lame because I did magic, being completely disrespectful to the art form. And I thought at the time I wanted to correct them, and in doing so, this monologue came to life. Lame. You call me a lame-ass magic boy? We lame-ass magic boys have affected the culture, history, and future of this entire world. We've created religions, changed water to wine and sticks to snakes. We've controlled the masses, consulted with pharaohs, brought joy to sick children, helped your spies go undetected, transcended language, and inspired the imagination of our greatest thinkers. We've risked being burned at the stake just to entertain your pimply ass. Magic is the hobby of judges and geniuses, presidents and kings, plumbers and porn stars. Magic sold everything from cars to cigarettes to sex, bringing billions to the economy. Houdini inspired the poor to believe that they could escape the shackles of poverty and make a new life for themselves in America. In the 1800s, French magician Robert Houdin quelled tribal uprisings using magic. Another guy, Kalanag, Hitler's favorite magician, used magic to calm the fucker down. Masculine, another lame-ass magician, helped England defeat Rommel and bring the Second World War to a triumphant end. It is an art form that goes back over 4,000 years. So show some goddamn respect.
The secrets of magic go on and on. With Steve Valentine, your host tonight, a master magician, the spotlight's bright. It's not just tricks, it's the art we find, the laughs, the wisdom, the brilliant mind. History, mystery, legends untold, stories of magic, both new and old. Magicians only, where the secrets start to show. Wealth and class in every tale, honest and funny. We lift the veil. From sleight of hand to celebrity, the light